Lots of conversation today on the program, so let's get to the aviation sector, if you will. The Council of the International Civil Aviation Organization, that's ICAO, during its 5th meeting of its 224th session, designated 20th of February of each year as the International Day for commemorating air crash victims and their families. To bring us up to speed as to what this is all about even further, let me introduce our guest, the DG of Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau, that's the NSIB, Captain Alex Bade Jr. Captain Bade, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me, and good morning.
Let's talk about why this day is important. Let's begin from there.
Today just represents people lost, the people we've lost over the past years in air crashes. We're joining the global aviation community today to commemorate this day. And it's just a solemn moment in their honor, just to let their families know that they're not alone. We stand with them and we recognize their pain, especially as the frontline people who investigate these accidents. So the NSIB really empathizes and identifies with them, the air crash victims and their families today.
So this will also help us understand the dynamics of that particular sector. But before we go to the dynamics as we remember this, so when you say a day to remember them, to honor their memory and all of that, in specific, is it just marking the day, or there's some kinds of interventions being given to families that are affected, or there's an awareness around air safety? What exactly is the bouquet of remembrance or commemoration here?
Well, first of all, this is it's a global observance day, initiated by ICAO. Again, like I said, it's about remembrance and solidarity. For the families, we do have the family support, family assistance program at the NSIB, it's domiciled at the NSIB, which again was initiated by the International Civil Aviation Organization. So this again, with that we support the families through accidents, grieving and counseling and whatnot. The other part of that, which I know most people think would be the monetary aspect of it, which is the insurance, and that's usually done by the NCAA.
Okay, let's now move on to some of the things that at the back of my mind, just to mop it up with this conversation. And that has to do with, let's begin with the good. We're grateful that to a very large extent, the rate at which we see planes dropping from the sky has literally reduced or been eliminated. I don't think it's happenstance. I think certain work went into place for this to happen. Lessons were learned. Even in the Americas, lately, we've been seeing all kinds of air crashes, but Nigeria, we've been quite fortunate. Maybe you walk us through what we do not know that is important for us to be aware of in terms of the effort of the agency and everybody in the sector to make this happen.
Okay, well, speaking at the NSIB, again, we come mostly after accidents and we make safety recommendations. Of course, we go through what happened, why it happened, and we try to prevent that from happening with our safety recommendations. For investigators, it's deeply personal because, they see, sometimes they go through the crash sites and go through the bodies, and, those safety recommendations they've made have improved safety. Now, of course, after our end, you have the regulators, the Civil Aviation Authority, who enforce or try to enforce those safety recommendations. So they do a lot of work as well. They have the oversight of all the operators and just the aviation ecosystem. And they put in a lot of work, to ensure our safety in the skies. And then you have the operators as well who take our safety recommendations and implement them. Of course, not all implemented, but we've seen improvements in implementation and willingness from all operators as well to improve safety standards. And so that's kind of what has gotten us here. If you go back to the early 2000s, we had a rash of, spate of accidents, which birthed the AIB, which is now the NSIB. And those safety recommendations they made corrected a lot of issues. And in the early 2010s, we had a few, but like you rightfully pointed, in the past 8 years, we've been pretty good in Nigeria, bar one or two issues.
I imagine for those watching us now, as particularly those who may have lost loved ones to air crashes, this may be a day that triggers painful memories and trauma. So beyond recalling the figures and the statistics, what would be the best way to honor the memory of those who have lost loved ones to air crashes, and for those themselves who have died as a result of a plane crash?
From our perspective at the NSIB, the best way is to, again, prevent it from happening, prevent whatever accidents have happened in the past, to make sure it does not happen again, because if same accidents keep recurring, it means those sacrifices are in vain. And there's a saying in aviation which says every rule or change is written in blood. So we want to make sure if that's done, there's no reoccurrence with that. And of course, we at the NSIB, again, what we do is not just technical. We're looking at the people as well, the humans behind, what happened, and the families they've left behind. So with the work we do at the NSIB and with the work the whole aviation ecosystem does, it's just, preventing this from happening. I think that's the biggest honor we can give, families of the victims and the victims as well.
And that's really important, because it may be news to people, but it's reality to the families of the victims and their loved ones. We can go back memory lane to the very first air mishap in Nigeria, then the first commercial one. Some say, in fact, the first one in Nigeria, 1942 in Ikogosi. It's the first in Africa as well. Then we can move on to the very first commercial one. I see here it's June the 24th, 1956, involving Kano Airport Argonaut. The aircraft was a Canadair C4 Argonaut BOAC, up until the latest ones that we've had. And I'd like to refer to the latest one. That's the one involving the Arik Air, involving the engine that had to then land in Benin City instead. For a lot of people, they expect these incidents happen first. The report should come out as quick as possible. Let us know what is going on because of the learning process, right? So we can apply the learning to future flights such that we do better next time, particularly in Nigeria. So maybe you can link this recent event to why some of these reports take some time to come out.
Yeah, well, before I go into that, first I would like to commend the crew for that serious incident that happened. They executed that perfectly. They did their trade as they were trained, and it was a good outcome for everybody. Now, I must apologize again for the delay in our reports. There are many factors that come with that, but this year we're driving hard to push them out, within timelines, and as timely as possible. There's a human factor in there. Sometimes our investigators are perfectionists, and they want, there might be different opinions, and, just getting those opinions or, to become fact. Sometimes it's a battle, so we do that. And then we are a little hamstrung as well sometimes with equipment. Technology is evolving so fast that, again, some software we have from last year is obsolete this year, unfortunately, and then we have to go through the process of getting new software, and they're pretty expensive. The licenses for these softwares that we use are very expensive, but we're working on that, and I would like to assure everybody that this year things will move on faster, especially with the ARIC one that just happened. We will have that out timely, within 30 days for the prelim, and if there are any immediate tips or recommendations, we'll reach out to the operators. We're looking into all that right now.
But from what you've seen, particularly with that one, what do you know so far? Just to give better insight, because what people have heard, just statements, some of them terse, some of them just being cautious. But what do we know exactly? And I'm talking that blow-by-blow account of what exactly happened.
Typically, I don't like to speculate, but there's been similar incidents with the 737-700 CFM56-7 engines as far back as 2018 when the Southwest 737, something similar happened where they lost the blade and the engine was severely damaged, and they lost a passenger from the blade hitting the window. So we've seen similar events. There was a similar one in 2024. So they have airworthiness directives with regards to this. So we're looking in that direction, as well as other, factors with this. That's as much as I can say about this. But it's, again, public knowledge. People can look up the Southwest incident in 2018 and see that it was very similar to this one.
So, Captain, here's what I mean. Looking at the images, right? If I were on that plane, I'm not even sure. I can't even record. I'll be praying deep in my heart. And I've been on flights, very tricky flights, and I can tell you it's not a pretty sight at all. So I want to explain now. What are we looking at here, Captain, from an expert's point of view? That's what I mean. What exactly is happening here, and how dangerous is this? Because you commended the crew.
Mm-hmm. Well, I commended them for doing as they were trained. But like I just alluded, I said you can look into the Southwest Air incident in 2018. I think it was March of 2018, February or March of 2018. And you could see what direction we're looking. I can't really say much about that, but it's public, it's open source information out there. You can just Google that. But again, the engine looking the way it does, I don't want to downplay it, but it looks way more dramatic than it actually is. That's the cowling that just fell off. So again, hats off to the crew. They did a great job. I would assure passengers out there in Nigeria that our airspace is very safe. It's robust. The safety measures and recommendations we put out there are being implemented. So our airspace is fairly safe.
And one of the things that you have said earlier is, to ensure that we prevent air mishaps from happening again. That would be the best way to honor the memory of those who have lost loved ones or who have died in mishaps. But if you look at the work of the regulatory agencies in particularly regulating airline operations, have you seen a commitment to ensuring, that due diligence is done for operators before takeoff and even after takeoff in maintenance of aircrafts?
Oh yes, we've seen that. The regulators are very dedicated to their job. Again, if ever there's, just even from a purely selfish point of view, they don't want to be in the news for any negative things. So over the years, there's been great improvement from the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority in doing their job of regulating, and of course surveillance as well. More could be done. I think they need more manpower, just to do more surveillance, because that's where some of these lapses happen. But by and large, I'd rate them pretty high in doing their job, especially in recent times. They've been more proactive. They've been out there. We see them on the ramp, doing inspections and all that. So they're doing a pretty good job right now.
So let's talk about what the future holds in terms of regulation, because I know that it only comes to your table when incidents have happened. So you look like a situation, your bureau is more like, the more you don't have work, the better for the system, if I can say that. But I know you have recommendations time and again to everyone involved in the sector. What are those? It may not be for us, the general public, but something that maybe you can share with us as a general public as to what to look out for as a people, as people who fly airlines or who are passengers in some of these airlines. Again, that's on one hand. The other hand is, I've always praised the fact that planes are not falling from the skies like it used to fall before. So what future safeguards are being put in place? And what are the things that we don't have that you think we desperately need that can even make us a better space around the global space that we're in the world?
I'll start with the last one. We need better infrastructure, just improved infrastructure. These things cost money. and I know the government is investing a lot in that. I mean, you saw the recent 900 billion for the airport in Lagos. Of course, there was a bit of uproar on the cost, but that's just the reality of doing business, especially in aviation. These things cost money, and the infrastructure must be improved, not just in Lagos, but even Abuja. You know, I mean, technology is moving, it's evolving. We have bigger airplanes coming in and out of the country, so we need to grow with the pace of the world. So that would be the major thing for me, just the improvement in infrastructure. That's what we've seen, and you know, we're pushing that even in our safety recommendations as well for better improved infrastructure underground.
Captain, we hope that infrastructure will be improved upon, and it's going to cost a lot of money. As a matter of fact, I think is it remodeling, rehabilitation, or rebuilding? I'm not sure the term to use. Is going to cost us almost a trillion now. I mean, the Terminal 1 of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, which is an eyesore by every stretch of imagination. But I must thank you so much for coming on the program. Captain Alex Bade Jr. is the DG, Director General of the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau, the NSIB. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.